The time is exactly 9:21 a.m. Welcome back. This is News and Views right here on Salam Media, and a big warm welcome to our Polokwane listeners on One Nation FM. Coming up on the show, we are going to be talking to a Comrades Marathon participant. He is Moaz Kaji. That will be our last interview for the morning. We'll also be talking with Adnan Amir, Pakistani-based journalist, about the disastrous floods in that part of the world. But first up, we'll be talking with Deputy President of AZAPO, Kekeletso Khena, about the ruling by the Equality Court judge on the song Shoot the Boer. And that makes for a very interesting discussion indeed. What the Equality Court has declared is singing the song Shoot the Boer does not constitute hate speech. Kekeletso, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the program, and undoubtedly a very, very welcome verdict as far as AZAPO is concerned.
Indeed. Good morning. Thank you so much for having us. And indeed, it is a wonderful ruling by the court. We feel vindicated because really this was not about the song, but rather about the heritage of our people. That is what was being put on trial. And we are glad that the courts were able to rule against this unnecessary, flexing of power in the courts by AfriForum.
What I find very interesting is that the EFF brought two experts to testify, and that was obviously one of them being African literature scholar Professor Elizabeth Gunner. And she went on to say that uh, the role of songs in performance politics and how the struggle past intersects with the present. She also spoke of the deeper meaning of political songs and their role in the public life of a state, particularly an African state, given the long cultural matrix and history. So when we take that, when we take that statement into account, what do we understand by it, and what are we also saying by this ruling regarding the future of such struggle songs being out in the public domain? And let's hope and pray that this doesn't get misunderstood by really fiery youth thinking that they're given the go ahead to kill randomly, perhaps.
You see, just even the association of farm murders to the song from our side is like I said, flexing unnecessary muscles. The reality is that there has been no causal link between the song and the farm murders. We are not at all diminishing the idea that South Africa is a country that is riddled with crime. People are dying, people in townships are dying, people in farms are dying, people in the suburbs are dying. We do have a problem of crime in this country. However, there is no causal link between that crime and the song. And I think it is very, very critical for people to understand that when we say kill the Boer, we're not talking about individuals. We are talking about a system that is oppressive to our people, a system that was oppressive in, for the last 300 years. And I'm not just talking about the 30 years of the apartheid state. I'm talking about, the centuries even before that have oppressed our people. That's what the song's about. It's about a message to the system: destroy the system, kill the system. So if you are part of a system, then I suppose maybe it will hit badly. It will sound like it's a personal attack. They always say the guilty are always afraid. So if you are part of a system that oppresses our people, then you know we are talking to you.
How do you respond to the issue that AfriForum actually took this matter to court? And congratulations that obviously the issue was thrown out of court, or rather it was ruled in the favor of Malema and, other such interest groups. What is the strong message that you believe AfriForum and other minorities should be learning from this case?
I think, the challenge we have is that you have the likes of AfriForum wanting to govern this country from the court benches, which is completely ridiculous. And just because you have the financial means to keep going in and out of court doesn't necessarily mean that you should abuse our justice system in the manner that they are. The reality of the situation is what we call minorities in this country is actually those people who have a better advantage over the majority of the country. So we have a completely different view on this whole minority-majority situation, because whoever owns the economy of the country is the one that's in power. And so these minorities that want to go into the public, and particularly the international domain, claiming that they are being abused when in fact they are the ones that are marginalizing and oppressing millions of our people, is completely a fallacy and a misrepresentation of facts. And so we want them to know that the justice system is not a playground for them to go and grandstand. It's not a place for them to go and send the wrong message to the international community, because nobody is specifically targeting the Afrikaner community. In actual fact, we do know that the Afrikaner community beats up on our people. They make them eat shit. We know that the Afrikaner community in their farms treats our people badly. We know that the Afrikaner community has waged a war on Black South Africans, and they are intentionally ensuring that they are not being employed. So they've waged an economic war. So let's just be honest about what is going on here. And if we want,
Okay, Kekeletso, let me interrupt you there. I'm not aware of all of those facts that you are putting out on the show this morning. I would like to have more information on that to take the issue even further. We know that our country is on its knees, and each and every one of us, regardless of color, race, or creed, needs to do everything in our power to protect and preserve this beautiful country. Let's not only target one group, and let's also see, the wood for the trees, what the ANC or the factions within the ANC, the mass scale corruption by politicians has done to the country. And I'm not saying that AfriForum Afrikaners don't need to necessarily carry blame, but let's see the wood for the trees. Imagine if we didn't have a corrupt government in place. Imagine if we didn't have corrupt politicians, if we didn't have entrepreneurs. Can you imagine the beauty of this country? Can you imagine? We probably wouldn't have had poor people. We probably wouldn't have be having this conversation that you and I are having right now regarding this issue of AfriForum and what they perceive as hate speech.
I think that's a misrepresentation of facts. The reality of the situation is that the poverty of Black people is a systemic thing that comes, and like I said, it was not a result of the 30-year rule of the apartheid government. It is a systemic thing that happened over centuries. The colonization of Black people, the dispossession of our land is the reason why Black people are poor. Until such time that we can get back the land and our resources, there is no way we can have a full participation of Black people. The reality of the situation is that as we speak, we are intentionally being kept out of the economy. The 5 people that have made it as entrepreneurs do not even begin to represent the myriad of Black people that continue to suffer because this economy is too small to accommodate them. We need to open up the economy. The people who have held this economy for centuries, and in particular, at least even if we do go back to, when apartheid was in place and they have systemically blocked us out, the people who have had access to that economy still have access to that economy, and they are not wanting to open it up. And that is a systemic issue that the people that are in the economy, that are running the economy, and yes, people want to say that the ANC is a Black government. It actually isn't. It's a multiracial government. It is a government that is ensured and that was specifically chosen to keep the status quo. The ANC was put in power so that it could keep the status quo. It was never going to change anything because at the very least, in 1994, they should have called for a referendum and asked Black people, what do you want? And I would have told you that Black people would have said, we want our land back. We want to be part of this economy. And that was not part of the negotiations. So they knew why the ANC was chosen to be the leading government of the day.
Well,
so
Kekeletso, what I do need to say to you is that the entire country will have the opportunity with the next elections in 2004. And let's hope that we don't self sabotage. We don't self sabotage ourselves and our country. They need to vote for the right people in power. They need to vote out mass scale corruption, wholesale plundering, and stealing. We just need to look at state capture, and we don't need to look any further. And I commend people like yourself and AZAPO and other minority parties. You have a very, very strong role to play. Maybe you guys need to think about a coalition government, and we need to fight. As you're saying, if the ANC has been put there by, powers that want to continue ruling the country, then we need strong coalition governments to be formed to fight the ANC, get them out of rule and give back the land to the people it belongs to. And that is the majority of the Black people. And I know we're digressing from the actual content of the interview, which was the fact that singing the Shoot the Boer song is not hate speech. And this is, in fact, misrepresented as far as even Malema is saying. He's saying that it's not, it just shows that this is really about culture. It's not about hate speech. Can I give you the last minute or two to wrap up on what we have put out on the table this morning? And obviously, there is room for much more in-depth discussion on what you've put on the table this morning.
Thank you so much. Yes, and just coming back to the idea of the song, I think, like I said, we're very happy with the ruling. But more than that, I think we've had an opportunity to send a message to, the AfriForum about wanting to dictate our voice, wanting to dictate what we say and how we say it. And these things like, the right to say what I want to say without it being misconstrued because it serves a particular agenda. I'm glad that we're able to clear things like that. Our culture has been, suffering. We've had our history annihilated. And so it is good that we've had an opportunity to preserve our struggle history, the struggle songs as part of our heritage, and we can continue celebrating where we come from because remember, there is a saying that is Sankofa, and it says you need to go back into the past and fetch that which is useful and use it for your future. And as Africans, we can go back into the struggle of our people and be inspired by their resilience so that we can carry on the fight to realize one Azania. So thank you very much for having given us the opportunity to come to Salam Media. We really appreciate you giving us a voice.
It was lovely talking to you. You really have made me think long and hard about lots of issues that we need to put on the table. And I look forward to talking with you again in the future. And congratulations on that ruling by the Equality Court. That was Kekeletso Khena, Deputy President of AZAPO. What a deep thinker and what a young, bright mind. Those are the type of voices we need to start taking a keen listen to in the future. I have a couple of comments. I'm going to ask my controller to put those comments up on screen. Let's just share it with our listeners this morning, and then we'll move over to our next interview that is with Adnan Amir, a Pakistani-based journalist in obviously that part of the world, to talk about the floods in Pakistan. Guantebale no Doba, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you for your thoughts. He says we should not be apologists for white racists. The poverty of Black people is systemic and manufactured through colonialism, racial oppression, and land dispossession. Thank you indeed for your comments. It's really everything. You've summed up what Kekeletso has said in the interview this morning. And then Leah Lynette Robery, thank you for your comment. You are saying willing seller, willing buyer. Leaders make choices and sell their fellow citizens out. Greed is the true pandemic. So says Leah Lynette Robry. Thank you indeed for those comments on the show this morning. We're moving on at 9:36 a.m. Time for an ad break, and then we're going to be looking at the floods in Pakistan.